Thanks a million, guys. So next up, Tony Fadell is one of the team who built the original iPod and is known as the Podfather. He took that incredible experience into revolutionizing the home over the last number of years. Please welcome him, along with one of the finest moderators Europe has ever seen, and I would agree with that, the insanely well-traveled and well-informed Wired editor, David Rowan.
Everybody's heard about the bird.
All right. Hi, everybody.
Hello. So I'm David, and we're here to talk about thermostats and smoke alarms.
And I guarantee you'll like it.
Because Tony Fadell is reinventing stuff that we take for granted through a company called Nest. And we'll talk a bit about what happened before Nest. But you've got a couple of products now. Started with the learning thermostat.
Thermostat.
And now there's a smoke alarm.
And CO alarm.
And a detector. Why did a man who was one of the hot shits, the top guy making generation-changing products at Apple, end up making thermostats?
It's exactly what my wife said. She goes, the iPod guy, thermostats, are you nuts? And really, if you think about it, you want to go back, you know, in the history of iPod, when the iPod first shipped and first announced, people said, what is this? It's just a CD player that plays more songs. This is a gimmick. Why is Apple getting into this business? It's a stupid business. And then when I heard the iPhone, right, there's Nokia, there's all these companies out there already today. We've already figured out the mobile phone. Apple can't innovate. And they were saying, it's going to die. Apple's not going to be successful. So when I say something like the thermostat, people go, are you crazy? But if you think about each time, it was a disruptive point when you could combine hardware and software and services in a new way to revolutionize that industry. It might have seemed commoditized. It might have seemed basically at the end of its life. But when you have disruptive technology and disruptive marketing combined, you can actually put new life into these commoditized products. And that's the thermostat, and that's the smoke alarm, right? The thermostat, there's 250 million of them in the US homes alone. In a smoke alarm, there's 750 million of them in the home in the US. So if you think about it, why wouldn't you go and try to reinvent those things? These things that use a lot of energy or need to keep you safe in the home, and they're just annoying. So let's reapply these technologies to existing markets and change the way we've thought about them over the last couple decades.
So most of the West Coast entrepreneurs I know, when they're not making apps, they're making hardware like 3D printers, you know, a sexy kind of bike. How did you hit upon the idea that I want to dedicate my next few years to a thermostat?
Well, I was retired. I left Apple, and my wife also worked at Apple. And we were designing and building a home in Lake Tahoe. And through that, I wanted to build a house that was the greenest, most connected house that I knew of. And when you have an iPhone in your hand at all times, the things in the world change, right? So think about the interface of to your world in your hand at all times. How does your car change? How does your person change? How does your home change, your office change? And so we set out to build a home that the iPhone would be the center of the home. And how would that change? And through that, that's where I discovered the thermostat, the smoke alarm, those kinds of things.
So you're taking advantage of the falling price of sensors, the nascent Internet of Things. Tell us a bit more about not just what the Nest thermostat does now, but what you see it doing in the future.
Well, when we first started the Nest thermostat, we told the world, hey, it's just a thermostat. It's really simple. It's just a thermostat. Try it. The difference is that those 250 million that I mentioned in the US, most of them were never programmed to save any energy. People just turned them up and down. They were like a manual switch. What we said was, why do you have to program them to save energy? You go and you try it in a couple of days, turn it up, turn it down over a few days. We'll understand your patterns, and then we will project those forward in time. And through that, now all the 95% of Nests that are installed have programs in them to save energy, but they were never programmed. They were done by learning. And so that was the first incarnation of what we thought was the right product to have. And through collecting the data, because they're connected, we're actually able to put new features and functions onto those products. And so we're not just a thermostat anymore, a learning thermostat. We're also an energy services company. So today, what we can provide with our energy partners is we're providing behavioral and schedule adjustments to help you save 5 or 10% each heating and cooling season by algorithmically adjusting your schedule. We can also do things like creating megawatt power generators. In the summer or in the winter, everyone turns on their heating and cooling at once on a very cold or hot day, and that puts a real strain on the grid. Well, we don't need to do that. You can still stay comfortable if you can modulate the homes and make sure that they're all kind of not peaking at the same time. And so this summer, we ran tens of thousands of homes on a peak demand response thing we called rush hour rewards, and we were able to move 60% of the energy outside of these peak times, to reduce the strain on the grid, to reduce the amount of generation, and to allow our customers to actually get paid for doing the right thing at the right time. So it's not just about the thermostat any longer. It's about the experience of energy in your home and what you can do from the time you install the thermostat on your wall till the time you need to replace it 10 or 15 years later. We really want to think about the experience, not just about the thermostat.
This reminds me a bit of talking to Jack Dorsey here 3 years ago, when he was describing Square, not just as a device to help facilitate payment, but as a way of collecting data that can really empower those who have access to that data. So, as well as a hardware business, I guess a lot of the commercial value of the business will be in the data and what can be done with it afterwards.
We think of it as services because we think that your home and your private data is your data. We don't want to go sell that. But what's really important to us is to get the data and improve the product and provide services on top of those hardware products to make it more energy efficient. So we've actually come out with 4 major software releases for the thermostats. They just happen in the background. You don't have to do anything. But we've been provided better auto scheduling capability, better auto away capability, so it turns itself down when you're not home. We've done things with cooling and heat pumps and radiator systems that have never been done before because we're finally collecting data from multiple climate zones around the world and instilling that knowledge into every single thermostat. It's been tremendous. I think we've added 7 new features that we never even envisioned when we first came out with the thermostat just 2 years ago.
How many have you sold so far?
Oh, we're not saying, but we're getting close to 1% of US homes.
Amazing.
So and that's 22 months.
And so far, you've just been on sale in the US. When are you coming to Europe?
So we've actually been on sale in the US for almost 2 years and just over 18 months in Canada. And what was really interesting to us is, because they're network-connected devices, we started seeing our Nest thermostats light up all over the world. In over 90 countries where we don't sell, none of our partners ship to, Nests have been lighting up. They're all over Ireland. They're all over the UK, across Central Europe. We have them in Saudi Arabia, what have you. And through that, we're finding many people want this technology. So we're following where those products are going, and we hope to be adding our thermostat to many countries soon. But right now, we have Nest Protect. And Nest Protect, our smoke alarm, is already for pre-order in the UK, and we'll be shipping to 9 countries in Europe very shortly.
So this is your second product.
Yes.
Smoke alarm, carbon monoxide detector. Why did you decide that the smoke alarm was ready for disrupting?
The number of stories that I got from our team, from our different customers, about how frustrated they were that a product that the government tells you must put in your home, you have no choice. You must buy one of these, or more than one, depending on how large your home is. So you have a choice. Today, before Nest, you have only one choice. A product that went beep, beep. In the nighttime, when you took a shower, when you cooked, it did nothing but beep. And you had to buy this thing. It is annoying. It actually, so annoying that 72% of deaths in the UK, fire-related deaths in the UK, are caused because people had smoke alarms, but they were so annoyed by them because they beeped in the middle of the night or when they were cooking that they tore them off the walls and let the batteries, tore the batteries out or let the batteries die. So we decided there had to be a better way. We could apply new technology and a new experience again. It shouldn't just be about beeps. It should be about information, and it should protect you from the time you install it to the time you replace it. It's not just about when there's an emergency. What else can be done?
It is not a cheap product. What makes you think it can make that crossover to be a mainstream device?
Well, it's a great question. People ask me why. And at first, it's annoyance, right? You're annoyed by it. Some people, of course, they're fine with the annoyance. Other people are saying, I want my family to be safe. When they look up at the ceiling and they see this gray or yellowing plastic piece on the wall, they don't even know it's working. They have no idea it's working. We decided we wanted to have an engagement with the homeowner, to let them know each night before they went to bed with something we called nighttime promise. When you turn out the lights, it quickly glows green to say everything's working. And if it's not working, it'll glow yellow. And you can just wave at it. And it will tell you the batteries are getting low, or maybe the connection to the internet's down, or something like that, to make you know that you are being watched, to make sure you're being watched to keep you safe. So I think these are the kind of things that will emotionally engage people to say, hey, this is a different product, and I'm going to have to buy these things. The government mandates it. So I can spend maybe £20 more for something that I enjoy and gives me information versus something that's just going to beep and annoy me and I'm going to rip off the wall sooner or later. So I think there's a lot of value there. And we'll see. We'll see if the customers. Our early pre-orders here in Europe have been phenomenal, much better. And we haven't even started advertising. We haven't started any of the retail rollout or anything. So we're very encouraged, and we hope that those 90 countries will one day also buy Nest Protects as well as Nest thermostats.
And are you varying the product for the local markets? I think they have voices that tell you that there could be a fire.
So Nest Protect, we're going to have 5 different voices when it comes out. We have American English, we have American Spanish, we have Canadian French, we have French English, but we also have British English. And we've not just localized the tonality of the voice, but we've also localized what it says. So in the US, it'll say, if you're burning the toast or something, it'll say, heads up, there's smoke in the kitchen. In the UK, it'll actually say, please be aware, there's smoke in the kitchen. So we actually got voice actors, voice talent, and we went through probably 100, 150 different voice actors to select those 5 voices that sound very authoritative, but also very motherly, so that they come across. So we curated even that piece of the puzzle to make sure we make it work for people in their homes.
And is your vision to have, as part of Nest the company, a whole suite of domestic products connected to the internet that talk to each other?
We hope that we're successful, and we hope to have many products over time. But we also know that we're not going to be able to build everything. So just about 4 weeks ago, we announced a developer program so that we can work with other third parties building other apps or hardware to work together to find great ways of bringing these kinds of technologies to the home in a very consumer-friendly fashion. We just don't want to hook up anything. So this is not like an Android program where anybody can jump on. It's going to be a curated program because we really believe that the home is and the things in the home are very special, and you want to have something that's not annoying you, right? We don't want to go from annoying smoke alarm to now annoying toaster or something like that. We have to be very careful with the experience. But we've already taken thousands of developer applications, and we're really, really pleased with what we've seen in just 4 weeks.
Now, you used to work for a company called Apple.
Oh, yeah, that little company.
A couple of pretty key roles. Well, tell us what the 2 main roles you had at Apple.
So at Apple, I started as a consultant in 2001, and I was charged with basically designing the iPod. So I designed the foam blocks and the hardware architecture inside and what the software could look like, and basically some of the outline of the business. And presented to Steve Jobs about 6, 7 weeks after I started the contracting. And from there, I was hired to then build the team and then ship the iPod, which happened about 7 months later. And then ultimately 18 generations in total I was in charge of. and built the teams there for that. And then during that tenure, I also was charged by Steve to build the iPhone and many parts of the software and all of the hardware for the iPhone. And so did that in the three generations of the iPhone. So I was very lucky and pinched myself and our team, and we got to change the world twice, which is really a lot to be said. And
on
I'm
behalf
very
of everybody
thankful for
here,
those days.
thank you for those products.
Thank you for being customers. Thank you very much.
At the time, though, did you realize how transformative both the iPod and the iPhone were going to be on swathes of industries, on the culture, on human behavior?
Well, you know, I guess you could say revisionist history, people would say, of course we knew. But let's paint a picture of what it looked like inside of Apple in 2001. So in 2001, Apple was a company with less than 1% market share of PC sales in the US, in North America. Not 1% in the world, 1% in North America. It was a company with $150 million in the bank and $500 million in debt. It was shipping computers, right? So to come in and say, we're going to now take this little team, the iPod team, and now we're going to bet the farm on this product that some people call the gimmick. How are we going to, it has nothing to do with what we really do every day, and it's a much cheaper product. How are we going to get our revenues up on this? To bet the farm on that, and for me to actually come in and say, I want to lead this team, it was a pretty odd time, right? And I just looked at Steve in the eyes and said, why should I be here? And he said, if you build this, I will dedicate all of our marketing dollars, right? Take all the marketing dollars away from the PC, from the Mac, and we're going to put it all on this. And he kept to his word. And that's how that was created. So if you think about back then, it was a very different place. And so to think and to say that, yes, of course we knew it was success, of course we hope things are going to be success, but to know is a very different thing. And especially for a company that was being challenged at that time. Even though it was a design leader, it didn't really have, it wasn't a business leader either at that time.
And the iPhone, did you have any more sense that this was actually going to transform the industry?
We had a pretty good idea about that. The iPhone, it was really, how much could we do in such a little time frame? Because if you think about a 1.0 product like the iPhone, we had web browsers, mail, messaging, phone applications. I mean, it's so many different applications. And for a 1.0, most companies can't even struggle to get one of those things right. And so to get all of those things right and really dial it in, it wasn't perfect by any means, but it was better than anything that was on the market. And we had a really good indication just after that, after using it, when you use it after the first kind of day, 2 days, and you see you don't want to put it down, we said, I think we're onto something here. So it was really cool. Because we didn't have, just to be clear, we didn't have corporate BlackBerries at Apple. We had no mobile email. We had no mobile browsers at Apple. We had none of those things in 2005 and 2006. So none of us were really, and we did very little texting. So we just had phone calls. So to then all of a sudden, a company, corporate-wide, all of a sudden starting to adopt this thing and seeing how well it took over how we were doing our business every day and interacting, we knew we were onto something.
So I've got time for one more question. I'm thinking there's a lot of entrepreneurs in the room. What are some of the lessons that you picked up at Apple through Apple's success that you're putting into practice in your startup that other people here could benefit in their startup?
Well, you hear a lot of times about people saying, you got to worry about product design. You have to worry about product design. The software interface has to be right. And the way it interfaces to some certain system or what have you, it has to be right. And absolutely, that is one of the key pedestal legs that you must have, without a doubt. So you have to implement, you have to get it right, and don't treat the product as beta and I'll rev it later. Too many software companies out there, okay, I'm going to throw something out there and rev it. You hear about these lean startups and all that other stuff. If you really want a brand that people are trying to really embrace and are waiting for the very next innovation, it's because that first time they see it, it's so right, they want the next thing that you see that's so right. They don't rev it into existence in the consumer's eye. That's one big thing. But the other big thing is focus on the experience. I talked about the thermostat from the time you put it on the wall to the time you replace it and all of the things it can do. Focus on the experience. How do people discover what you do? How do they engage? What are your customers saying about it? How do they get engaged with you in terms of learning about features or functions beyond what you're doing or how to use it better? Think about the entire experience they have with the brand, not just when they're using the product or installing the product. Get that whole experience right, and you're going to build a brand that people are going to be excited and can't wait for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing from you. Nail it right. People will be very excited the next time.
On behalf of everybody who's ever owned an iPod or an iPhone, let's thank Tony Fadell.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Great to be here. Thank you, David.
Everybody's heard about the bird.